Well, are the EFF and ANC making political maneuvers, of course, at the expense of the DA, who will say it's at the expense of ordinary South Africans? Ethel Trollip was removed as Nelson Mandela Bay Mayor on Monday. And this Thursday, it's Tshwane's Msimanga who will face the no confidence vote. He says his governance has been positive, but the EFF, on the other hand, has other plans. So who will come out on top in this chess game for three? That's my question for Julius, Malema, Msimanga and Kgosi Mayepa. All of them joining us in the next half hour. What's your question? Our lines are open. Phone in on 011 759 6340. You can also tweet us the hashtag Tonight with Jane Dutton. Ethel Trollip was the first mayor to be removed. Now the economic freedom fighters setting its sights on Tshwane's Msimanga. But what is the final game plan for the EFF? Is it about ensuring good governance for South Africans, or is there more to it than just that? EFF leader Julius Malema joins me in studio to talk more about this. Mr. Malema, thanks for your time tonight. When it comes to the situation in Tshwane, is the problem that you're facing there a DA problem, or is it a Msimanga problem?
Well, it's a DA problem. Soli is a nice chap. It's a chap that we long pronounced that we are ready to work with. But there is a well-established white caucus which feels entitled in Tshwane and doesn't give Soli a chance to breathe. And as a result, they make him not to consult broadly with parties that have made that coalition possible in Tshwane. And that's what we're complaining about. There's been an outcry that services have now gone to the former white suburbs. The townships are being neglected. White people are being appointed in Tshwane without qualifications. And any manager who dares exposes those white people who get hired without qualification, that manager is going to be accused of this or that, and they get rid of that particular manager.
Do you find that that was the case when it comes to the city manager?
Absolutely. Soli said to the city manager he must not fire Marietta, even when everything else was pointing at Marietta being fired. They said Marietta doesn't have the necessary qualification, should not have been considered in the first place, because this is what the advert said. You must have post-matric qualifications and experience of some sort. She didn't have any of those things that were requirements. And the investigation said she needed to be released. Soli told the CM not to do that. And the CM said, I cannot go against the recommendations. You're asking me to do an illegal thing.
When we stay with Msimanga and what he has to say about all of this, you know, all of you held your separate press briefings today. Msimanga saying that this move is an attempt by the EFF to loot and undermine the city.
We can't loot. We are not going into the executive. We don't want to be mayors. We don't want to be municipal managers. The CM was appointed by the DA. They came and persuaded us as the EFF that we should support that candidature. He's a good candidate. He's got all the necessary qualifications. We didn't bring any city manager. We don't want to bring any city manager. We don't want to bring an MMC. We don't want to bring a mayor. So how are we going to loot? All we want is a party that will humble itself and appreciate that no one got overwhelming majority. Therefore, the will of the people is you guys must work together. But if people are going to behave as if they've got the majority, we have to remind them through harsh actions that you do not have the majority. You have to consult at all times.
Was that part of what happened in Nelson Mandela Bay with Ethel Trollip?
That was absolutely what happened in Nelson Mandela Bay. Ethel Trollip, there's almost 10 black African DA councillors who are not happy with his leadership style, who are suppressed. Every time they try to express themselves, they are not given an opportunity. Now they are going for just one councillor. Let's say for whatever reason they win a court case, he gets reinstated. We'll put another motion of no confidence. They will be shocked by the DA councillors because they are not happy at all. No consultation, suppression of African councillors in the DA caucus. And that is wrong. We said to Musi, please, let's work together. Let's consult each other, even if we disagree. But, you know, the decency of saying these are the plans, we shouldn't hear from the media.
So then what is different? Because nationally, the DA is governed under one unit. But what is different in terms of how Herman Mashaba conducts his affairs here in Johannesburg, which you said you have no problems with, as compared with Tshwane and Nelson Mandela Bay?
Let's take insourcing, for instance. It's an EFF policy. We said let's insource in Tshwane, let's insource in Joburg. Soli was speaking like he's a principal. I've got no such money. I will never insource. I will take 50 or 200 every year. That is close to nothing. Mashaba, we spoke to him, we persuaded him, he agreed. Mashaba is now opening 24-hour clinics in Johannesburg. Mashaba consults permanently. Why? He knows he has not won the municipality. Mashaba even says in public, the residents of Johannesburg should thank the EFF, because if it was not of the support of the EFF, we wouldn't be where we are. And these are the people who don't even ask for anything. All they need is the pro-poor policies. And when he went to Elias Motsoaledi in Soweto, he says to those people, we had all forgotten about you. We were reminded by the EFF that we've got these types of communities, and that's why we're bringing electricity to you. That's the type of leadership we want. Look at Musi today. He has a press conference with Trolip. He doesn't thank ACDP. He doesn't thank COPE for the support they gave them in Nelson Mandela. He speaks like, no, all of that was done and possible because of the DA. That's the type of arrogance we're talking about, that even their own coalition partners don't get a single mention when they talk about the types of the things they did in those municipalities, whereas they've not won those municipalities. Solely the same thing when he spoke in Tshwane. No mention of those parties that are with him in a coalition. He only talks about the DA.
So how much of it then also, and I hear you, you're accusing the DA of having a level of egoism. How much also then on the part of the EFF would you also apply the same concept? Because in the same breath, what makes Herman Mashaba successful in your words is the fact that he acknowledges you, the fact that he recognizes you not just behind the scenes, but also publicly.
No, we are not suffering from any egoism. We are not suffering from any arrogance. We consult. We call them. We say, this is what we think can be done. And we persuade each other. Mashaba wanted to increase rates and services here in Joburg with an abnormal percentage. The EFF said it's not going to happen. And when he insisted, the EFF stood out of the council. He went to reach out and said, guys, I have to increase. Give me a percentage which you think it will be reasonable. We gave him a percentage. He accepted against his own will and advices, and he came to understand that I won't do it without these guys. I have to meet them halfway. But you talk solely, you talk Trolip, they talk like you don't even exist. Trolip, the first thing he said in PE was, the good thing with PE is that we don't need the EFF. Why is he needing the EFF today? Why is he saying, no, the EFF has done this? Now he's crying about EFF, as if we agreed to date him. We never agreed about that. We don't have any relationship with Trolip.
One of the things that the situation also does is that it then leaves you in agreement with parties like the ANC, with whom you have been enemies with for some time now. And in fact, on Thursday, you may very well be voting with the ANC to get Msimanga out. Will you be supporting the ANC possibly to have their candidate take over?
Well, we've been voting with the ANC for quite some time. We agreed with the ANC to vote Jacob Zuma out. And when he had us and the ANC are agreeing to vote him out, he resigned. It will not be for the first time we agree with the ANC. In the same breath, we vote with the DA. We vote with anyone that makes sense because we are not committed to anyone. So we will vote with the ANC in Tshwane on Thursday to remove Msimanga. Both the ANC and the DA, including all parties that are there, which are interested in those positions,
but this is the same
bring
ANC.
A credible candidate.
This is the same ANC that was voted out of power in Tshwane.
And then who was voted into power in Tshwane?
Well, obviously nobody took an outright majority.
So why do you want to talk like there was anyone who was voted into power? There's no one who was voted into power in Tshwane. So therefore anyone can go in. Even ourselves, if we so wish, we can go in. So no one is entitled in Tshwane. No one has got a mandate of the people. The mandate of the people is you are going to work together.
All right, let's quickly take a look at what Msimanga had to say earlier on in the day about what he sees as the relationship unfolding between the EFF and the ANC.
But what took place yesterday was an act upon which a newly formed coalition was then brought on the table. This is a coalition of the ANC, the UDM, and the EFF.
So can we expect more of this going into 2019? Of course, we can't be oblivious to that much of the moves being made now. If nothing else, warning signals of what to expect next year.
Well, next year, all we need is the people to decide. If the South Africans don't want this mess we're subjected to, let them be decisive. Otherwise, if they don't decide, we are going to have this problem with us for some time. But we need leadership that will appreciate coalition politics. That coalition politics means permanent consultation. You don't do as you wish in a coalition arrangement. Anything is possible. We can go with the ANC, we can go with the DA. Musi can call us any name he so wish to call us. That's what Mkletama called us when we went with Musi. Now today there is a new Mkletama in a suit called Msimanga calling us names when we go against them. It's okay. It comes with territory. It's part of the engagement.
Okay.
So we are really not worried.
We've run out of time.
And we said in Tshwane, by the way, Musi should give us a proper, credible candidate who's not going to succumb to whiteness in Tshwane. That person will be voted for by the EFF. The same thing with the ANC. They must bring a credible candidate. If they don't have both of them, the EFF will abstain.
Okay.
It is our democratic right to also abstain.
Very briefly, before I let you go, at the end of the day, part of what happens with the volatility of coalitions as we're seeing them means that there's also a level of instability which renders itself, especially on the administrative front. How concerned are you about that? Because that is ultimately what affects the daily lives of people and the kind of services that they're able to receive. Very briefly.
It was not created by the EFF, it was created by the voters. I think the voters must answer that question. What happens when you are so undecisive and you don't choose one party they are coalition politics.
All right. Thanks for coming in on Tonight with Jane Dutton. That was the leader of the EFF, Julius Malema. Up next, we'll speak to Tshwane Mayor Msimanga on his strategy going into Thursday's vote.